Are you serious?
Hello, this is How to Kill an Hour. My name is Marcus Bronzy. Thank you in advance for killing some time with us. Joining us on today's show is comedian, Instagram sensation, TikTok tantalizer, Facebook facializer, writer and TV producer, Munya Chawawa. Welcome to the show, bro.
Yes, you doing, man? Thank you, Marcus. I'm good. You forgot to chuck in sex symbol in that, but I will let you off.
6 foot sex symbol. Looks like Idris Elba. Sounds like Idris Elba. Yeah. Yes.
Well, I've got the looks of Richard Ayoade, but the heart of Idris Elba.
Whoa. Wow. Wow.
Put that in the Tinder bio.
That's a package and a half, innit? That's swipe-a-thons.
Hey, you're telling me. Don't make me tilt this laptop screen down, all right?
Well, we won't get too excited with our conversation today, otherwise that laptop may end up on the other side of the room. We've heard the rumours, bruv. We've heard the rumours. Now, welcome to the show, man. First things first off the bat, let's describe your lockdown situation. How are things looking for you in lockdown? Where are you right now?
Okay, so right now I'm in my bedroom. We're very fortunate in these parts of the world to have what they call a balcony, which I've never had in my life before. So all that means is I've been able to whack on the Speedos, just really let loose, Marcus. I think that's what it's all about. And tan areas and crevices I didn't even know I had. So for me, I'm a happy man. Sun's out, bum's out, am I right?
Wow, sun's out, bum is out. And I mean, lockdown for a lot of people is been quite frustrating because they're not being able to kind of get into work, do what they usually do. It's been a big time of transition. But for you, I feel like you've been able to create just as much, if not more, during lockdown.
It's been crazy, bro. And first of all, thank you for noticing. But what I'd say is that what's been strange is when the lockdown was announced, there was this kind of, when it snows and school's cancelled and obviously it's not the best situation in the world, but as a kid, you're like, yes, that means I get to stay at home. I get to play video games. I get to, have a day off. For some reason, it's almost like everyone turned to creators and was like, okay, but you guys don't get a day off because now we need you. We need those podcasts coming out and we need those sketches and we need those, those new releases and those mixtapes. So it was a bit of pressure at the beginning, mate. I'm not going to lie. It was a bit daunting just thinking, okay, now more than ever, we really need to up the bar. But lo and behold, having a bit more time to think, not having to jump on the Victoria line every day, did free up a bit of mental space. And I would like to say that, some pretty good ideas have come out of it. And also just having people around to watch what you make. That's been the best feeling for me, honestly. Just, seeing so many more people commenting, messaging, just really sort of getting stuck into it. That's been the most gratifying thing about lockdown for me, 100%.
Wicked. And we're going to talk about the content in a little while. Be rude not to. But how have you been killing time during lockdown when you've not been creating content?
I'd love to tell you that I've been sitting down, going through every story mode on every video game, getting all those Easter eggs, those challenges where you've got to corkscrew through like a donut on GTA. But mate, I've barely played any video games. If I'm honest with you, I've just been trying to fire on all cylinders. IG live quizzes, YouTube shows, Insta sketches, the whole lot. So I've not had that much time to relax. So I'd say I've been killing time by actually working overdrive. Because I don't know if you find this, but when there's no one to say, all right, guys, 6 o'clock now, everyone go home, you just keep on going, until the owls come out,
Yeah, man. Keep on cracking on until the birds stop tweeting, which is never at this moment in time. I don't know about you where you live, but inside or outside of London, these motherfucking birds are very noisy at the moment. You might even hear some creeping into this podcast at the moment. I've got the window open. I've
got this little kid that somehow, it's a talent really, you should consider being a choir boy, is able to hit such a high soprano.
Yeah.
But he happens to sort of talk directly underneath my windowsill. So look, I don't want to predict anything, but I've got a plant on that windowsill, quite a heavy plant. And one day it just might fall out. If you know what I'm saying, Marcus.
I don't blame you if you accidentally on purpose decide to, accidentally.
I think that makes you an accomplice, actually. That does make you an accomplice. So just think about that. Ask Bill whether he wants you to be legally implicated into this crime that may or may not happen.
So if you hear this on the podcast, it's because producer Billy's had a word with our legal associates and they've told us that I can say, kill the kid to Munya. And it's there. Do it.
How to kill an hour, more like how to kill a kid, am I right?
Yeah, that's right, baby. How to kill a kid and make a quick getaway within an hour. But yeah, man, no, like I think we've all had to learn to live within close proximity of others. I mean, I've got neighbors that are slowly starting to like turn up the music. Yeah. So it's like, it starts off with like, you know, just a little bit of a background, doom, 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 doom. And then kind of recently it's been kind of turning into windows open, a little bit of like loud singing. And then kind of they're the neighbors that are going for those party anthems that you'd expect from a Butlins holiday or a cheesy kind of European getaway. And those aren't really doing it for me at the moment, man.
Maybe your next door neighbour, without knowing, is actually Tim Westwood. in which case, you're missing out on some really fantastic whining opportunities, Marcus.
Oh man, try if that was the case, I'd be rubbing up every corner of the room. Do you know what I mean?
I'm sure you would. I saw you getting ready for today's podcast. Crikey me, it's a sight to behold.
It's a great warm-up scenario, trust me. Yeah, so have you been enjoying other content during lockdown as well? Like, are you using other things as a muse? Because I believe that, you know, that it's a nice area to go on social media and kind of see where things are going. I mean, TikTok's really blown up for you as well.
You know, it's a good question. And the honest answer is I don't really watch a lot of other content. And it doesn't come from, it doesn't come from any point of ego or arrogance. It's more to do with social media, as we well know, can very easily affect your headspace. And I find that as somebody who, you know, is a perfectionist and wants to constantly better myself, in the rare minute that I haven't done something, if I see a piece of content that I feel like is of a certain quality or has hit on a niche that I didn't hit, I'll just sit there kicking myself going, why didn't I do that? Why was I being so lazy? Even if I didn't have a second free in the day. So the short answer is, when I post a video, I'll go on there, maybe check the comments, make sure there's no sort of undercover EDL supporters in there trying to bring down the race. Get them out of the comments, and then I'm just going to close it down and let it marinate a little bit, bring out that lovely jerky flavour, and I might pop back on. But certainly I'm not in the habit of going through people's pages, and I ban myself from the explore page, because that's where you'll catch that one thing that catches you off guard and makes you think, I've been doing nowhere near enough, even if you've been going overdrive. I don't know about you. How do you feel about that?
You know what? And I'm not saying this to suck your ass, but one bit of content of yours that I genuinely thought, fuck, wish I did. I don't even do comedy sketches online at the moment, right? It was the Craig David.
On my way to see my friends on FaceTime because we're all in lockdown. Had to order a Subway. There was nothing in Sainsbury's in front of me. A Deliveroo driver with a beautiful body. She asked me, is this mine? I said it cost her name, 6 to the number, and a date with me on Zoom at night.
Well,
you gotta keep it real though. You gotta keep it. You gotta keep it real with people. I bet there's a lot of people that saw that and really liked it, and even your peers. And it's normal human nature to be like, oh yeah, that was cool, man. No, but that was fucking sick. And I can't lie, I saw it and I was like, fucking wish I did that, mate. So yeah, keep it real, man.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate it a lot, because I guess you just don't know you just never know when you're sat on one of these ideas.
Yeah.
And I think it's been a real blessing because now I understand how the game works.
Yeah.
Consistency is key. So I'll always try and do 2 things a week. But then sometimes you just hit on this one idea that it blows up, and it's blown up because people are just going crazy and they're flocking to it, and you're getting all of these messages. And I think the Craig COVID thing, it nearly wasn't an idea, because I thought to myself, I was going more along the lines of, let me do like a mock compilation CD with different artists that I'll play just maybe 4 bar from a song that I'll make up, which would have been easier for me because I just have to write 4 bars. So it was going to be West Hen. So obviously there's Western, the group, we were going to call it West Hen. That's now been made into a full song. Initially, it's just going to be 4 lines. Craig COVID, again, was just going to be 4 lines. And anyway, I was writing those 4 lines and I thought, I reckon I've got a bit more in me to keep writing. So the hook got done, and then a bit of the first verse, and I thought, okay, maybe I should just release it. And after the first evening of recording it, after the first record, I listened to it and I thought, I don't think this is the one. Good to have done, but not the one. Pushed on, made the video, thinking, okay, it's decent now. And then it just went out. And I think because everyone knows Craig David, it just kind of took off in a way that I never anticipated. And it was great. That's the most watched, most commented video I've ever made, I think, on Instagram at least.
Nice. And it's good to know you had a bit of fun with it. And with regards to putting together content, I mean, it did have a music video vibe to it. I mean, you getting a bit of help behind the camera as well? Is someone holding the camera for you?
Yeah, so I've got two of my closest, I don't know what you'd call them. Well, one's my girlfriend, one's my best mate, Scott. Not been able to see Scott too much because of the lockdown, but my girlfriend has been in lockdown with me. She's also the, to quote the YouTube comments, thick ting, who is seen in the Craig COVID video. There's just something so chivalrous about calling a beautiful girl a thick ting, isn't there?
Was it a thick without a K as well? Was it 2 C's?
Yeah, 2 C's.
What is it about being called thick?
It was you, wasn't it? You left the comment, Marcus.
I know, I'm 3 C's and then like a water emoji. I'm classy like that.
Oh God,
that's what I am. Yeah.
So yeah, sorry, to answer your question, Gabs is the one who films my videos.
Yeah.
And if she's laughing during filming, that's always a good sign, because it means with a bit of polish in the edit, it's going to be even better.
Yeah.
And with one of the workout videos we did, which I'm sure we'll speak about later, where I was literally just daggering my carpet. For anyone who doesn't know what daggering is, just search Marcus's YouTube channel.
Yeah, that's it.
She was laughing during that, and then so it gave me the confidence. It fuels you in the process. It makes you go, right, I'm going to go the extra mile then, because I think this is funny. So every part of the process is leading up to, will this be funny in the end?
Yeah. And is that your process? Is that like you're thinking of the final thing? Like, is this going to be funny at the end? And is that constantly going through your mind as you're writing, creating? You just want to get the punchlines in and make sure that it resonates.
The whole process is, number one, when I'm writing the script, I'm thinking about this 60-second window usually, where there's got to be enough laughs in there, but at all the right moments. It's got to finish strong. It's got to start strong enough for you not to keep scrolling, and then it's got to keep you entertained in the middle. So that's the writing process. And then I might read that script to Gabs, and she might go, yeah, I think you should change this, or I think you should do this. We'll then film it, catch a vibe. Are we feeling good about this? There's been plenty of videos that I've just got a quarter of the way through and gone, I'm not feeling it, and we'll be completely ditched. Like, there's a whole bin of those. And then you get to the edit, and then obviously when it's edited, I will always, without fail, send it to Gabs and Scott, and their reaction will influence how I feel. But sometimes it's way off. Sometimes I'll send it and they'll be like, yeah, it's all right. And then Instagram will be like, wow, this is the greatest thing ever. And then other times I'll be like, this is fantastic. And Instagram will be like, meh. So there's so much, there are so many points of uncertainty. I think ultimately some things hit and then some things hit less, but that's just the nature of the game, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you got to put it out there, suck it and see, really. I mean, nobody has the formula to viral. Do you know what I mean? Like, some people, kind of resonate a bit better, like yourself, but nobody knows, like, right, this is going to be the one. This is going to break the internet. I mean, unless, you take off all your clothes and decide to pour champagne over your shoulder like Kim Kardashian did. But I think that's done now, so no one else can really do that.
Yeah, I've been there, done that. Didn't go down too well on LinkedIn, but we learned from these things.
Oh, yes, we must learn. We must move forward. So
what I will say, though,
yeah.
just because of you mentioned the whole viral thing. I think a lot of people, when something goes viral, they think, this must be just the greatest feeling in the world. But sometimes for a creative person, it's actually also one of the most anxious feelings, because you feel yourself on this wave, just this building wave of people talking and retweeting and liking and reposting. And I don't know whether it's just myself, but in that moment, as soon as I realize that's happening, I'm thinking, oh God, what's the next video going to be then? Because it needs to be able to capture this amount of stuff. So there are pros and cons. Obviously, I love the feeling, but it's not all glitz and glam as you might find it. There's a lot of stuff that happens in here, the moment, in your head, the moment that you see something really taking off.
100%. And are you doing quite a lot of work, internally and in your mental to make sure that you do stay in a positive mindset? Because, you are locked in. You try not to look at that explore page, but hey, Instagram's there. And let's be honest, that's where you put out your content. So you kind of spoke about regulating yourself, but I suppose you also have to be quite aware of what's going on out there.
100%, bro. Rewind maybe 3 years, and I wasn't anywhere near Instagram sketches. I was trying to, be a presenter. That's what I wanted to do. And I was complaining because there were so many things about the industry that I just didn't understand. I didn't understand why I was coming up with these games on my radio show, or I was having a go at making some really sort of cool, unique content on my YouTube, and it just wasn't taking off. And I could see other people absolutely murking it, getting those precious few spots on the bigger radio stations or the TV shows. And I was just complaining, and I thought to myself, look, I'm doing everything I can work-wise, but I'm not doing anything for my spirit or my, the inner Munya. And Gabs, so my girlfriend Gabs, she's super spiritual. Like, she's practiced Buddhism and all of this kind of thing. So I was in her room one day and I saw this book, and I knew what the book was. I'd seen it before in my mum's room. It was called The Secret. And I thought, let me just read it anyway. I don't even know what it was. It was like one of those movie moments where you just see the book lent at a particular angle. Do you know what I mean? It's got that neat little triangle in the gap between the other books.
The light glistened off it.
Exactly, man. And my shiny forehead as well. Anyway, long story short, read that book, and I would summarize it because some people think, is this religious? Is it some sort of cult? The principle is, in life, you've got two options. You can either look at what's in front of you and go, well, this is all right. Or you can just spend your life in a constant daydream of being like, imagine if, I reckon I can, one day I will. And I just switched between being the complaining guy who was like, the industry is messed up. Some people do get it better than others. I switched all of that off and just went, I'm going to be that guy. Like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to have that. And honestly, bro, I still do that every single morning. Every morning I wake up and I do 3 things I'm grateful for. And then I read a list of affirmations. And if I read them to you, you'd be like, oh, what? Like, calm down, mate. Because you have to big yourself up. You have to gas yourself up to believe that that could be you. And imagine, like, that whilst I was doing that, when I would be saying stuff like, oh, one day I'm going to hit 10,000 followers on Insta. I really believe it. I believe it. I believe it. A year from me saying that, I think I was probably on, in a year, I went from the 2,000 I was on to maybe 75,000. And I never even, when I was saying it, although I had faith in what I was saying, I never believed that, you can really make that kind of change just by, being positive and actually genuinely believing in what you want, and just making you saying it so much it doesn't even surprise you anymore when it happens.
It's inspirational, man. I like that. That's real good. And you are continuing to smash in terms of your goals. I feel like you must be continuing to grow, because well past the 75,000 mark on Instagram, and also the content is continuing to flow. One thing that I did when I was doing some research about you, I found an interview a couple years back, and you were like, I'd like to move on from the 1-minute videos. And you mentioned you had thought about the first 60 seconds. You're like, I'd like to move on to longer videos and do content which is a bit stronger and a bit longer. Pause. And you've started to create the Versus series, which is great, on YouTube. You've also popping it out there as well. Where do you want to explain the premise to it? Because I like it. It's quite unique.
Okay, so yeah, there's 2 sort of long form formats I've been looking into. One is just ITV in general, which wasn't as big. I think when I started off, people weren't really messing with it, but now they do. Yeah. So you can release songs like Craig COVID on there. You can do sort of something at the time of recording. One of the things I am planning to do is sort of branch out with my news character, who usually does 60-second news bulletins. Yesterday we went into a forest. We went into a forest where there was no one there, and we did a video where, this news reporter was investigating the presence of woodland roadmen. So the streets are being patrolled by police. So roadmen have infiltrated forests, and he was sort of picking up leaves and twigs and making out that they were actually skanks or like marijuana leaves and stuff. So I'm really excited to showcase that. And then, of course, the YouTube series is called Working From Home. And what that is you've got the posh drill rapper Unknown P, who's notorious for 60-second freestyles or sketches, now actually making sort of these 7 to 9 minute shows where he's collaborating with another well-respected MC during lockdown, and they're sort of remotely making a song together. And the best example, I think, has been Lady Leisha and the Heavy Trackers. We made a song about barbecues. The audience votes for the theme, and that one really took off. So it's been good to see people enjoying the 1 minute to, people can enjoy 60 seconds and 7 minutes as well,
Yeah, man. Tightly a sex tape. I had to do it. I'm sorry.
That's actually wrong. No, that's wrong. It's actually my sex tape is people can enjoy it 30 seconds or 7 minutes.
Okay. My one is that it? That's my sex tape.
No, your one doesn't have people can enjoy it.
Oh man, you know what? I've been missing the face-to-face rinsings that you can give. WhatsApp's not doing it for me. You know, like the WhatsApp
Nah.
group roasting people get. I'll be missing those, man. Thanks for bringing that back for us. But yeah, you're also into gaming as well. I've again researching. You found out that one of your favorite games was Streets of Rage, and I believe this is the point of the podcast where you're going to hear Munya berate me because we did have grander plans for this podcast, didn't we?
Well, I mean, for everyone listening, I just want to give you a scale of the disappointment I've experienced. So let me lay the scene. I'm on my balcony. I've got the espresso in hand, and you know, Marcus, you know, sends his producer to do his dirty work, and he goes, "Yeah, Marcus would love to get you on the show. We're actually going to send you a PS4 so that you can play Streets of Rage. You can relive this childhood dream." And I'm thinking to myself, this might just be the best news I've ever received. Lo and behold, about 3 days later, I get a message saying, "Yeah, unfortunately, we're unable to source you a PS4." Now, that might not have been a problem if I wasn't looking at Marcus right now and I see behind him he's got these $1 million speakers, cush chairs. He's got a swivel chair with a cushion on it. You know, this man is living a lie. This man is living one long bow wow challenge, ladies and gentlemen. So if he slides into your DMs offering you a PS4, just know it's a dirty, filthy lie.
You know what? It's it's a shame, right? Because it's and we're going to turn this into some tech talk here. We're reaching the end of the lives of this certain generation of consoles. So I believe you're Team Xbox, aren't you? Right?
Yeah, I'm Team Xbox, but I've got a PS1 right now.
Have you got a PS1? Oh, sick! A PS1.
Yeah, I've got. Yeah, bro. Did you see the ones that are about this size?
Yeah.
And the PS1s. So they were like sold in H&M for a limited run.
Yeah.
It's got about 10 games on there. It's got Tekken 3, GTA 2, the one where you basically a pigeon, and then a couple of others. But yeah, man, it's great to bash out a bit of Tekken on like an old school wired controller.
I wondered where you got the wired controller because you did do in one of your recent videos. You did, I think it's the one with Manga, was it, or was it gaming one?
That was with Big Zo and Kapali. We did a gaming freestyle, and I had the PS1 controller.
Yeah. I wonder. I was like, "Fuck, where did he get that from?" Because that is old school. Yeah, that sounds really cool, man. Yeah. So basically, because of the run of the consoles, we couldn't get you. I don't want to hot up a specific console maker for the Streets of Rage 4 game, but there was an issue if we got you the copy that was easiest for you to get. So our only other solution was to get another console to you. But because of lockdown and because of the end of line of consoles, we couldn't get one to you, man. So I promise you, when lockdown's over, all right, we will get something over to you, bruv. Don't worry. We got you.
Let me tell you this. From now on, I want everyone listening to this in all forms of social media to refer to Marcus as Marcus, the Boris Blamer bronzer. Because that's what you've just done.
But yeah,
you know what? On the topic of Streets of Rage,
and
I am going to nerd out on this. First of all, I gotta say, old school consoles have some absolutely elite games. I am so tempted on a regular basis to get a PS2 just so I can play The Warriors, Def Jam Fight for New York. I mean, if you're a kid who grew up watching wrestling and listened to hip hop, this is just the dream, man. Did you ever play Def Jam Fight for New York?
You're going to be crying like a bitch after I get my hands on you,
The finishing moves, which are called blazing moves, were modeled on the artist's songs. So Ludacris obviously has that famous song, Stand Up. His move would literally be to like break both your legs, break your spine so you couldn't stand up. It was just mind-blowing. So on a regular basis, I'm looking at eBay and I'm thinking, do I just order a PS2 just so I can play these old school games? You know, you got some good stuff on Xbox and, PS4. But yeah, some of the old classics. I mean, Streets of Rage, the video you're mentioning where I mention it, is where this was one of my first games. And I had it on Sega, which is something my grandparents brought over from England when I lived in Zimbabwe. And I remember I would only be able to play for an hour at a time because my parents knew that I was sort of an addict in the making. You know, this Sega was my crack, man. You know, this was my cold, hard crack. So when my parents went out for a night on the Zimbabwean town, I was just banging it out. And the experience I had is I played it once for so long, when I finished playing, I could only see in black and white. Dude, how is that possible? How is that possible?
You was halfway into the game. You were halfway into the Matrix. So the real world was not looking real for you. I bet you were looking at whole turkeys thinking that if you just squatted over them, you'd get 100% power up.
Mate, I'm telling you, I mean, not as far as sort of teabagging turkeys, but yeah, it was definitely, I was on the verge of insanity. I thought I was never going to be able to see in colour again. Imagine that. Imagine peaking so early in your gaming career on a Sega.
Played so many games, he's gone blind. Have you heard about Munya? He gamed so hard, he went blind. That's why they call him Blind Man Munya. But like Streets of Rage, it's definitely a franchise that I don't feel we've had enough versions of over the years. I really hope that this was a game that would come back well before we finally got Streets of Rage 4, because what I loved about Streets of Rage 4 was it had kind of a Street Fighter-ish vibe to it. You were beating up characters, but not only were you going down the streets and beating up characters, you could do it with a mate as well. Like you could join it, you could do it together, you could smash up some baddies and like tag team them together. And I really like games like that. I'm big on social gaming. And I think at this point in time where we aren't able to chill with each other and bust jokes with your friends in the same room, it's important to have games like that. Do you know what I mean?
100%, man. And you had the added risk factor as well of if one of you dies during a Streets of Rage mission, on Sega at least, that's it. You ain't coming back. If you leave your teammate the second from hardest level from the end and you die, that's it. They're going to have to fight the final boss/bosses all by themselves. Yeah. Every Sega game was like that almost. I had Aladdin, I had Lion King, I had this Nickelodeon one called like Real Monsters or something like that. And the frustration of getting 7 hours in and you're on level 4 and you die and you have to start again was so long, bro. Nowadays, you know, you've got Doom on Xbox One. It will kick your ass inside out. But if you die, boom, you're straight back in. So being able to play with friends and having that risk where if your bro dies, my guy's left you out there to the wolves, you know, that can affect a friendship. Those were the good old days. You know what I mean?
Trust me, the best. I mean, and also, it wasn't just if you died. Your parents might come in and just be like, right, fuck off. Time to watch the news. What? But it's one more level. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Play your game tomorrow. You're there thinking, Jesus Christ, I can only see in black and white now. If I stop playing now, what's going to happen?
Let me tell you this story. This is the maddest gaming story I've ever heard, and it's not even my story. I worked with this guy when I was at this music channel, and he was saying how he had a PS2, starts banging out this game where there's just loads of story missions and stuff, plays for maybe 10 11 hours straight, and he's sort of halfway through the game, goes to turn off the PS2 now, he's got it on pause, and realizes he doesn't have a memory card, right? So what he does is he knows his mum's going to make him turn it off, and he knows his mum's going to try and save electricity, so he leaves it under his bed switched on for 2 weeks before he gets a memory card, and then plugs it in and saves and turns it off.
Fire hazard. That could have gone horrendously wrong.
Imagine the electricity bill there at the end. Why does it say we've spent 6,059 watts on a PS2?
Just there cooking under your bed. Parents are like, why is the house so warm? We've not had the heating on for weeks. Your room's like
it's
a
furnace. Wonderful summer, isn't it?
Yeah.
It feels like bloody summer. I've got a tan.
It's like Barbados.
I want to get into bed, whack on the Xbox, and just go for it. Really bash one out on the controller. So I have to gauge how good a game is based on how much it disturbs Gab. So with Mortal Kombat, she'll just say, look, turn it off because it's just too much going on and I can't hack the sound effects of the fatalities, which makes me know, all right, cool, this time they really up the levels, because there'll be some games I'm playing and she's fast asleep. Yeah. Mortal Kombat 11 is not that game. So if you need a real adrenaline pumper, that's the one to go for, you know?
Yeah, and they've also made the fatalities a little bit more easy now, because back in the day, it would be like press up, down, left, back, forward, BB, AA, XX, forward, left, right. And then if you didn't do it in time, you'd be like the other player would just fall over and you'd feel rubbish because you didn't finish them off properly. But now they've got little like shortcut ones.
Is there any one that you can barely watch the screen for?
Do you know what? I think by the time the next Mortal Kombat comes out, I'm going to be struggling to watch some of them. I don't know what Sub-Zero's ones always get me, because there's something about being frozen and smashed into pieces that always makes me think like, is that a weird way to go? Will I still be conscious in some way? If my brain is frozen and smashed into bits, will I still feel it in a weird way? And also the Terminator's ones are quite sick as well. When Arnie goes, get over here.
Yeah, if you're a super nerd, there's actually a series on YouTube which tries to recreate the fatalities on anatomically correct whatever you call them, mannequins, where they've actually tried to create an axe out of ice like Sub-Zero does in the video game, and to test whether that would actually work. It doesn't, spoiler, but it's a great series. I personally
What
say,
is that
look,
called?
if you're a hot, just literally type in Sub-Zero fatality real life or something, and it will bring up these guys who try to recreate a new fatality each episode.
Oh my gosh, that sounds sick.
But yeah, man, it's amazing. I'd say for me, just before we move from Mortal Kombat, worst fatality, especially if you're a horror fan, has to be Devora, who's like this insect queen. She literally spews bugs inside your mouth. You fall down, start to like shiver, and then this giant bug breaks out of your body. At that point, I thought, I actually think I may need to play this with a parent in the room, because this is too much.
Yeah, I'm not up for that. That's not the one at all, man. That is not the one. So yeah, some more kit that you use. I'm sure people would be interested in terms of when you're creating your content. What kind of technology do you use? Like, are you using special cameras? Are you using mobiles here and there? Like, because we've had a really kind of mixed bag of responses when we've asked people on the show.
So yeah, my first camera was a Canon 600D, which I was able to afford by staying at uni over the summer holidays and filming videos for the mechanical engineering department, which was perhaps the worst 300 hours of my life, considering that I knew nothing about mechanical engineering, and I've bit off way more than I could chew. But lo and behold, it got me a great camera, so I'm grateful for that. Canon 600D with just the normal box standard lens. Only as of maybe 3 weeks ago, I upgraded to the Canon ESOR, which is just a bit more flashy. It can do a bit more. And the lens I have is the one I've always had, which is I think it might be 24-105. So it's like a really good all-purpose lens. When you start off with a Canon, you've got a lens that can do everything, but to an average degree. This is now the same, so it can do everything, but to a much better degree. Then as for microphones, I use a Rode mic shotgun for when I'm trying to capture surround sound. And then I use the Rode mic radio kit for when I need to get a bit of lapel close action sound. If I want to not be too close to the camera, but you can still hear me, that's what I use. And then for music, I've got a Chaotica foam ball, which you place over a microphone just to create that studio feel to it. I've only just got that recently as well. So yeah, it's coming along nicely. The kit collection's coming along quite nice.
Nice, man. Nice. And, and it's good to know that you kind of are quite hands-on. I mean, when you're producing your content, are you recording that all yourself, editing that all yourself as well? Because your edits have really come along really well as well. I mean, you've got, for example, in your battles that you've got online, they're like, you've added quite a lot of special effects. I can see some green screen work in there. I mean, they look really cool as well.
Yeah. So I'm very, very hands-on, because so much of the comic aspect of what you're doing comes from the edit.
Yeah.
In terms of the timing and how much you leave before a joke. So yeah, I am very hands-on. With the Working From Home series, where I'm facing off against a new MC each week, that's one thing that I have just said, look, I need to get an editor for this, because it was just too much to try and do everything. So the guy I found is called Carlos Rico. He's amazing. He is an absolute whiz when it comes to, you send him some stuff of you on a green screen, and this guy will just turn it into an absolute masterpiece. If you're into video games, as we have been talking about today, go and have a look at the Unknown P versus Big Zoo and Capo Lee on YouTube. And he's basically recreated video games around all of our freestyles, and it's absolutely amazing.
It's class, man. It's class. And it's good to see that you're kind of expanding the team as well, hoping to grow, man. I mean, what are your future plans now? Because, you've gone from thinking for 60 seconds to 10 minutes. And now I suppose the next step is kind of looking at longer form content, I guess, TV style stuff.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can see my vision board, so I can see what's on the kind of the goal list. But certainly it would be to move into something, a much longer format, which is on a bigger platform. Perhaps it's a TV channel, perhaps it's a really big online channel, but also just to keep on top of these 1 minute ideas, which can just be, banged out so quickly depending on what's in the news. So I'd say, look, I would love to do something with Netflix. I would love to do something, on a television channel. Channel 4 feels like the best fit. And I'd also just love to keep creating a body of work that when I eventually retire, people will just go, oh yeah, let's go and watch that video because it was great. Just like with RS. Whatever you have to say about how RS finished off when he did the sort of BBC Three stuff, which, I actually enjoyed. If you ever go back and watch his original Hood documentaries, they're always so class. And so to create a piece of work that outlives you, even when you finish doing that thing, because he's moved on to his Enterprise series, that's when you've made something of real quality. because people will go back and watch it and it's still just as good. I think that's a goal. That should be a goal for any comedy content maker.
Definitely. I think part of the whole RS kind of legacy is the fact that it stopped so abruptly as well, where it felt quite abrupt at the time. Like, you know, we got all that great content and then he kind of, right, well within his rights, decided to just, hey, you know what, I'm cool with RS for now. I'm going to move on and do other things. So it's kind of the fact that you can't get any more of it. Do you know what I mean? You know, let me have a really, really nice plate of food.
Supply and demand.
Yeah,
definitely.
that's it. Supply and demand, or as food as I like to kind of go for. But yeah, supply and demand sounds a lot more professional. Yes, supply and demand.
He was very smart to, you know, if you think about Frank Ocean after Channel Orange, he made this incredible album and it won all of these awards. And people somehow felt entitled to get more from him. But realistically, if Frank wanted to, he could have retired there and then and just gone to live in like Macedonia for just the rest of his time eating olives, and he didn't owe the world anything. So I think sometimes it's a case of we'd like more content from people, but also would these same people asking for more content be the ones to be going, this guy's so dead now, used to be funny, not funny anymore, this guy's done out here, you know? It's like, which one do you want, you know?
Exactly. Well, it's that whole debate really, like Biggie, Tupac, if they were still around, would they still be known as the greatest? And to be fair, we just don't know. Like, you know, they, in the short time that they're on this earth, they created some great content, whether you're Biggie more, sway more to Biggie, more to Tupac, stuff that resonates now. But you can't ever tell whether they're, you know, if they were still around today, whether they'd still be on top. They'd still be regarded as creating great albums, but would they be seen more as like a Nas kind of? Would they be on that level?
This is why it's so important to have, as you mentioned earlier, a team, but of friends and honest people.
Yep.
Because if Biggie and Tupac were still around, I know for a fact there would be people in terms of their music partners and stuff saying, this is absolutely fire, you got to drop this. This is absolutely fire. The kids are going to love this. This is going to go down so well on TikTok. But of course they'd say that because they need to make money. And that's how they keep you alive. Whereas your friends who have less of a financial investment will just say, it's a bit cringe, actually. Don't do it. And so I think that's the key to longevity, because now more than ever, you can be a content creator at any age. You've got Graham Gran, who is interviewing some of the biggest UK MCs. Don't know how old she is, but you know, she even calls
clearly
herself,
like she's over 30, isn't it? She's definitely over 30 years old, yeah? Yeah, 100%.
Just.
Yeah.
But you know, to even brand herself Graham Gran and to go, look, yeah, I am a Gran. You can come into my house, you can have a cup of tea.
Yeah.
If she's making content at whatever age she's at, it means realistically, there's a bit of pressure, but also there's perhaps expectation that someone even as young as me, you know, at the tender age of 18, will be making content until I'm 80, which, if that's going to be the case, how do you make sure it's good for the whole time? You've just got to have honest people around you.
Cool. And you mentioned retirement as well. And is that something that's kind of in your, not on your mood board, is that in the plan as well? Have you thought about that, when you'd like to wind things up or how you'd like to see that out? I mean, there's nothing wrong with being optimistic, or some people like to plan all the way to the end. What are your thoughts on that right now?
I think you can do it very smart. I think you could go down the Ricky Gervais route, where I'm not sure what he was doing before his sort of big appearances, but let's assume that he would have been doing Instagram sketches if he had been here and now. He did his Instagram sketches, moved on to doing The Office on TV, moved on to doing stand-up tours. Then those stand-up tours went on to Netflix. Now he's got like a drama comedy on Netflix. You know, this guy is making a lot of money, and he's, you know, even when he's not on screen, he's still doing stuff behind the scenes. So there are ways to just transform, and there's like a metamorphosis you can have whereby you're not always doing the same formula, but you're using the same skills. So I think I'd like to see that kind of trajectory. Netflix, maybe a bit of stand-up, maybe do some writing for other comedians, maybe younger comedians when they start their come up. You know, that's what I love doing.
Awesome, man. You've also tried your hand at some stand-up as well, haven't you? There was a TV show.
One or two, yeah.
How's that going?
It's scary. Stand-up is scary. I haven't really flung myself into it. That particular story was, I really wanted to try it, but I didn't have the confidence to go by myself. I needed a reason. So I tricked this TV station I was working with into being like, guys, you know, we make this weekly show. How crazy would it be if, I don't know, we like followed a guy trying to make it to stand-up? You know, that'd be crazy. And one of the producers was like, do you want to do it? And I was like, yeah, all right. So we started this journey where I was trying to build up to be a stand-up, where I started off terrible, which was good because obviously I was terrible. And then got all these comedians, actual comedians in to coach me. as part of a TV show. So it was all very sort of, it was all a big scheme to try and get me a bit of training. The final show was excellent because it was a student audience. They are absolutely smashed on their J2Os. And I did a 5-minute routine about my eyebrows, which, if you can see, there is plenty of content to get from those. So it did give me a lot of confidence. But the maddest thing is, I think it could have been Mo the Comedian was on a radio show with me. It was either Mo the Comedian or Dane Baptiste, both great comedians. And I went, oh, I did 2 gigs. I'm not sure if I like it. And they went, no, you need to you need to do a few more. Just do a few more and you'll know whether you like it. And I was like, well, how many? And they're like, yeah, once you've done about 300, you'll know whether it's for you or not. And I thought, Jesus Christ, 300 gigs just to know whether it's for you or not. I thought maybe I'm not cut out for this, but I'll give it a go, mate. I'll give it a bash.
Yeah, fair enough. You spoke about transition as well and metamorphosis, more importantly. And when I've looked at the content you've created over the years, you've kind of come from broadcasting space and you've done bits of presenting work where you've mentioned quite a lot of newsworthy content. And then you had this shift into comedy. Can we talk about how that came along and why you decided to go in that direction?
Yeah, so in a nutshell, I was working for 4Music, which was 4Music's music channel, previously T4, I think it was. And I had been hired as a producer because they found out that I could write, which is great. However, of course, I wanted to be presenting this daily life show instead of writing the scripts for the presenters. So it got to a point where I was just sort of watching these presenters who were great, but doing my jokes and sort of watching the reaction to those jokes. And I was thinking, this just feels a bit weird, to be honest, because, this is my baby, but I'm watching someone else push it around in a pram, if that's right, if that's the right analogy.
Yeah.
So anyway, I went home that weekend, did my first Johnny Oliver sketch just as a bit of fun. And when that went on to I'm Just Bait, I mean, that was a surreal experience because I just woke up, refreshed my phone, and it had gone up about 16 followers, which from my previous time on Instagram, that was like a year's worth. So I thought, hang on, there's something weird going on here. I think I refreshed again just to make sure, and it had gone up another 32. And I thought, no, this is weird. And just out of chance, I went to check I'm Just Bait, and I saw it on there. And I just saw how much people were enjoying it and all the likes and the comments and just real signs that maybe the writing is good. And I thought, okay, so if I if I did 2 of these a week for a year, I wonder what would happen. And that's the story. The story was, what if I do this twice a week for a year and I see what happens? And, here we are. So I'm glad I did try.
Yeah, man, of course. I mean, look, it sounds like you cut your teeth kind of getting your jokes, as sharp as ever on the TV circuit as a producer. And then you could take that out and in a way, you
You're
kind
right.
of were testing your content via these other presenters and you could see how well they came off and crack on from there. So yeah, nothing wrong with that at all, mate.
And you know what, as I said about, gratitude is very important. And at the time when I was doing those jokes on TV, I don't think I probably felt very grateful. But now that experience is invaluable to have sort of, to have worked in TV and to understand how it works behind the camera and to understand how you make good jokes or jokes that appeal to lots of people. I'm so grateful for it now. So any kind of taking for granted I had back then, I've kind of removed that out of my mind. And now I'm just like, it happened exactly the way it needed to.
Yeah, man, that's cool. That's really good to hear. You used to have a podcast called Mixed Opinions. It's not around anymore. You pulled it down when I went online. How are you with the podcast game at the moment? The long form audio content. Be honest, you don't have to be nice about it because you're on a podcast now, right, Munya?
Yeah.
I love podcasts. Podcasts are great. I'm listening to one as we talk now, Marcus.
Marcus has got some virtual pliers around my balls right now, depending on what I say. Podcasts obviously are fantastic. You look at someone like Joe
Marcus
Rogan.
Bronzy, How to Kill an Hour.
Bronzy.
Award-nominated show. I'm just going to cut in and just throw that out there. We're award-nominated Best Interview Podcast 2020 British Podcast Awards. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Marcus Bronzy is Joe Rogan with hair. If that's not been said already, it needs to be said.
There we go.
So you look at someone like Joe Rogan. My whole comedy inspiration comes from a podcast, the Bugle podcast, which is still in existence, not in its original form, but John Oliver, Andy Zaltzman, the absolute goats. That anyone who has my inspiration, that's them and that's their podcast. So you can get a lot from podcasts. My Mixed Opinions podcast, which was about growing up mixed race in Britain, I sort of stopped doing that and took my foot off the gas because when you have an audience who have come with no knowledge of you doing that, it would have been quite strange for them to listen to this series of podcasts where I'm being really serious and kind of deep, and to promote that and be like, guys, this is something I was doing all along, but go and listen to it now. The directing traffic that way would have been a bit tricky, I think. And so if I am going to do a podcast now, which is the plan, it will be more to do with the space I'm in. So Instagram comics, online comics. That's what we've got in the works at the moment.
Nice stuff.
But you have to be funny to be on it, Marcus. So I'm joking. You can be on it. You'll be the first guest.
No rebuttal for that. No rebuttal for that at all.
That's cut deep. I can see.
Cue sad music.
Yeah, no. If you want to cue sad music, cue it when they tell me that they didn't send me Streets of Rage. That's when you cue it.
What else have you got planned for the future that you can tell us about then, Munya?
So the most notorious character I do, which is this posh drill rapper, Unknown P. Perhaps you've seen his Fire in the Booth. He's sort of worked his way over to America. Americans are very confused at the moment. And people are all saying, oh, it'd be great to have more than 1 minute tunes. So we are working on an EP with some proper artists on there, some proper full length tracks. So yeah, I imagine after lockdown, when we're able to sort of rub shoulders again, that will happen. Developing some stuff for TV as always. And yeah, I think as soon as lockdown ends, we can really get our teeth stuck into a lot more YouTube series, hopefully a TV series, and hopefully an EP as well. Just all kind of difficult to do over Zoom,
Yeah, TV's a funny old game at the moment. Like a lot of people that have had things in the go or were green lighted and were ready to film at the end of March had to kind of stop. And I think even though there is still TV content coming out there and channels look like they're reacting, they're still quite rattled, aren't they, at this situation?
Is there anything you're gutted? Is there any series that you're gutted you now know you won't be able to see for a good 6 to 8 months?
Do you know what? I'm not as much of a fan of it as I was, and it's still going on, but it's not the same. Wrestling, man. Wrestling with no audience is just. I'm under no illusion, right, that wrestling is not real, right? Okay.
Now more than ever, though.
Now more than ever, because it's HD and you can see the punches missed. But to take away the audience of like Americans that are just hyped up on Bud Light. Yeah, those giant foam hands. Yeah. Without that, it's just not the same. It's just weird, man. Like, and weird. Any kind of spectator sport, even football as well. Football has no atmosphere. I would not be upset if they would add sound effects in when they're playing any kind of sport. With like, if somebody, I don't know if it's like a wrestling match, if they put like a ooh or a ah or yeah, if someone cracked a joke, I'm totally up for that because it's just lost all essence. I'm also a bit of a Trekkie nerd. And they've announced a brand new Star Trek series, but they won't be able to shoot that until lockdown's over. So it means I won't be able to see it for a little while.
Man, wrestling's a crazy one, bro, because I don't know about you, but I grew up watching that. And in Zimbabwe, for some reason, you'd have to pay for every single channel except wrestling. And I don't think they realized that they were meant to be pay-per-view because they just, Zimbabwe TV would just put WrestleMania on at like 10 o'clock in the morning and be like, here you go, watch that. So as a kid who loved wrestling, these were the best times, man. And let me tell you something. Those punches and those elbow drops and those sweet chin music, they used to connect. More time now, it's like they're doing WWE in a British school playground where it's safety, what's it called? Health and safety, crazy.
Yeah.
I've seen you'll see people flying out the ropes after a guy like flicks them on the forehead. It's just not the same. They don't make it like they used to, Marcus. I'll tell you that now.
Now, the Attitude Era of WWF/WWE was where it was at. You see, like Stone Cold Steve Austin would like walk into a supermarket with another wrestler there and just like throw him into a trolley, smash eggs over his face, pour beer on him, and be like, "How's that for a cake?" Do you know what I mean? Honestly, I love that sort of stuff, man. Love that sort of stuff. Man.
Anyone who says wrestling is fake is correct, but it didn't used to be as fake. It used to be the fact that there used to be a debate about it, whereas now people are like, "Yeah, it's fake." Tells you the difference in the quality.
Do you know how I see wrestling? I'm like, you've got EastEnders or Hollyoaks. I've got WWE. That's how it works for me. Do you know what I mean? That's my
so good, man.
That's my soap. So like you've mentioned it a few times. You're from South Africa. What's it like? What first thing I want to ask you is what's the response back home?
So the Zimbabweans who kind of I grew up around, they kind of. I sometimes get messages from the people I went to school with, just saying, wow, like they come up as being crazy, but in school you was kind of always, you were always kind of like a bit of a hyperactive weirdo anyway, so it makes sense. But yeah, it's been really lovely seeing the Zimbabwean community get behind me, because A, I didn't really know there was one on Instagram or social media per se, and B, they didn't have to, and there's no reason for them to, but to see a nation that sort of champions their own, it's actually really touching, and it's something I'm really grateful for, when you consider how sometimes in more Western cultures like USA or England, there's this whole thing of when someone begins to do well, that's when the hate starts, which is very, very strange. In Zimbabwe, I'm not a celebrity, and I'm not sure what it would be like to be a celebrity there. But from the very small fraction of it I have, the reaction from Zimbabweans has been to just embrace me and to sort of elevate and champion me, which I'm so grateful for. And it does make me want to go back when the time's right,
Yeah, I hear that, man. I hear that. And because a lot of people are aware that you're a UK in the UK right now, but they're not aware that, you're Zimbabwean background. You know what I mean? So it's good that you kind of bring that to the forefront and make people aware of that. I
think so. I think Munya Chawawa is not necessarily the most British name.
A little bit.
The most British name around. So people get a bit that, for some people, their sort of racist spider sense starts tingling. But for the majority of people, they're like, oh, this guy's from Zimbabwe. That's cool. I don't know much about it. So sort of being able to, anytime I put in a little Zimbabwean joke, it's always really cool to see the people who pick up a bit in the comments, because then you go, oh, right, so I have got Zimbabweans following me.
Oh, that's nice, man. That's nice. That's nice. Oh, man. Well, you know what, bro? Thank you very much for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate you coming and talking about everything that you've got going on.
Pleasure, mate. Pleasure.
How you like to kill time, your kit. And yeah, man, I just wish you all the best in the future, man. I love your trajectory. And like, you're someone who's out there, and I feel like the content you put out there truly comes from a good place, man. There's a lot of content out there which tries to reach for a laugh, and sometimes it's a little bit, but I feel like you're having good fun with it, man. So
yeah, man, thank you.
May you continue doing that.
Yeah, and dude, look, I want to just say for everyone listening as well, who I'm sure already tell you this, it's been really, really nice being a guest on the podcast. Just seeing the research you've done and stuff, and just the style of interviewing. Like I said, I've worked in TV, so I know what it's like to be on both sides. Like, done a great job, bro, and I'm going to make sure I become a regular listener.
Cheers, man, because we're going to chat shit about you in the next episode. So
yes, come on. You all wait till that Streets of Rage comes through, mate, and you take an absolute battering, then we'll see.
All right, you're the guy that will beat me up even though we're on the same team.
Yeah,
oh, come on.
I'm the guy. You'll be fighting the boss, and you're going to get a steel pipe to the back of your head from me.
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right. Yeah, cool. Fair enough. Oh, I hate paying people like that. What you got on with the rest of your day anyway before we let you go?
Rest of the day, let's just say I'm preparing for a very important date, and it will make sense. When this comes out, it will make sense.
Okay. All right. Very, very interesting. And where should we look for you online, Munya?
Okay, so it's a bit of a myth already. Look, my socials are Munya Chawawa. So what I'd advise you do is just type in MUNYA CHAWAWA, and if not, just go into YouTube and type in Posh Drill Rapper and go from there.
Nice. There we go. We're at How to Kill an Hour on all social medias. I'm Marcus Bronzy, MarcusBronzy on all social medias as well. Thank you for killing some time with us. We'll be back to kill some time with you real soon. In the meantime, stay blessed.